You're not doing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're on you.
Hi, and welcome to Zambia Today. Welcome at KK at 100. Welcome to Zambia at 60. Now, today we are talking to KK Jr. or number 6. I don't know how you refer to him. Others call him Kaweche Kaunda. Others call him number 6. Others call him K or Uncle K. We are talking to him because we want to know more, we want to find out how he grew up in State House, how he related with his father, the famous KK, you know, the KK I'm talking about, the only KK you know in Africa and in Zambia and in the whole world. So you're welcome.
Thank you, and welcome.
How have you been?
I'm all right, thank you. Hope you've been well too.
Okay, I've been okay. First things first, I'd like to know who was Kenneth Kaunda?
Well, to most people in the country, he was the first president of Zambia. He was the one who fought for the independence of the country with quite a number of his colleagues. And then to those of us by accident of birth, he was dad, just our father.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll start by talking about KK first. We'll talk about Kenneth Kaunda. Where was he born?
Kenneth Kaunda, my father, was born in Lubwa in Chinsani. Lubwa is a mission that was built by his father, the Reverend David Julizia Kaunda, and his mother Ellen Yamirenda Tingwera Kaunda. They built the mission in Lubwa in Chinsali district now, which is in Mchinga province.
Could you tell us some things that you know about his childhood?
Well, like I said earlier on before we turned on the camera, most of what I know about that time is from hearsay, from my grandmother. Fortunately, I was able to meet my grandmother and be old enough to remember her. And the things that she told us were that he, for example, was very, very keen on being in school. And he started school after his father had died. His father died when he was very small, him being the last born of 8. And his father died when he was very young. So he started school after that, and he was very keen on starting school.
Where did you start school from?
At the school that his father built in Lubwa. And the story that he himself told me, at least, was that the day he was supposed to start school, he and his mother went to the school. By this time, they had brought some white missionaries to come and supervise the mission, which his father had built basically from scratch. And when they went there, and this white man who was now running things at Lubwa Mission insisted that they pay. And my grandmother said, look, this is the son of the Reverend David Kaunda, the one who actually built this mission. The guy said, I don't care. No money, no school. So my grandmother tried to plead, and the man wouldn't hear anything about it. So they left, my grandmother in tears, and holding him, a small boy, and he looked at his mother, he's crying, so he also started crying, and he didn't really know why she was crying. But because he saw his mother crying, he started crying as well. And they're walking, going home, and on the way they met somebody who told them that, look, if you go to such and such a shop, tell them so and so sent you, and ask them for help. I'm sure they'll help you. So my grandmother went to this shop, and she told the person there that this is what happened, and he gave them the money they needed. They went back and paid, and that's how my father was able to start school. Now, the significance of that story is that I had asked him once, a long time ago, and I said, look, you did this free education, and why? So he said, he gave me that story. So he says, when I grew up and I became president of the country, and I'd go around the country, and I would see all these little boys in the villages and everything, and I'd say, once upon a time, I was like that. And I'm sure some of those children are going through the same thing I went through. They will not get educated simply because they don't have money, not because they don't have the grey matter, but because they don't have the money. And that stuck to him. And that is why he says, well, after discussing with his colleagues, they decided that they should make education free, because it was not something that should be a privilege for only those who had money.
Who did KK grow up with? I know that they were friends with Kaweche, but did he grow up with those people, or do you know some of his friends that he grew up with?
Well, the ones that we know that he grew up with are those who went with him into politics. There were others who, when we go to Chinsali, when we used to go there on Christmas, he made sure that every Christmas we would go to Chinsali. People would come from around Chinsali, and they would tell us, oh, I grew up with your father, I grew up with your father. But the ones we got to know are the ones who went with him into politics. People like the late Kapasa Makasa, Mr. Sokoni, of course with Kaweche, there's Mr. Mbilishi. There are a few names that off the top of my head I can come up with, but most of them are those that went into politics with him that we got to know better. But there were others who had remained back home and went into other fields of life.
So we've moved from primary school, now we go to secondary school.
Mm.
Which secondary school did he go to?
He went to Munali. I
Tell
don't
us
know.
a bit about his experience at Munali. I'm told he was a prefect.
He was a prefect. I think if you speak to Uncle James Mapoma, who is still alive, he will tell you a story about how, as you know, Uncle James Mapoma is a small man, and when he got to Munali, he was being bullied,
Yes.
and my father came to his rescue,
Yes.
and from that day people left him alone.
Okay.
So he's never forgotten that, and his experience at Munali is that there are some certain things that he initiated there, which I don't know if the others knew. For example, he started a band when he was there because he loved to play guitar.
Yeah.
So they started a band with one of the teachers there that was good to them in that line of activity. So that was in my secondary school. But after that,
After school, what was his earliest occupation?
he was a teacher, and he went to teach back at Lubwangshi, where he had been. He had been, like some of his friends, wanted to go for further studies at the universities that were available for the Africans then. I think Makerere was one.
Where
I think
Mr. Mapoma went.
Mr. Mapoma went.
Yes.
I think the other ones were in South Africa. But I think certain events caught up with him in his life and decided not to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he went to teach.
He
What
was-
grades was he teaching?
I'm not sure
And
what
for
grades
how
was.
long?
I'm not sure what grades was teaching because over the years, certain people would show up at State House and say, your father was my teacher. So I'm not sure what grades that he would teach. My older brothers might know because Panji, for example, was much older and he used to go into the classrooms to play when my father was teaching. So he remembers those times.
Okay.
We were not there.
After school and after teaching, obviously he got married. Can you tell us where he met his bride, how he met his bride, where they wedded from, if at all they wedded, or if there was just Chombelanganda?
No. Now, my mother was born in Lubwa as well. And when she was born, the midwife, when my mother was born, was my grandmother Helen. She was the midwife. She helped bring my mother into this world, not knowing that this was going to be her future
First lady.
daughter-in-law. Now, my grandparents knew each other from my mother's parents and grandmother Helen. They knew each other from Lubwa. My grandfather, David Kaunda, had passed away by then. But even before he died, he also got to know them. Now, they moved from there. My grandfather, my mother said, moved from there, and they went to Mpika. And in Mpika, that's where my mother grew up. So one time when my father started his political travels, my grandmother said to him, listen, when next time you go to Mpika, go and pass by house number such and such and look for Mr. So-and-so and so. We know them, they are friends. But of course my grandmother had in mind that he was going to see Betty over there because if she calculated, so
Okay.
Betty must be the right age by now. So she sent my father there to go and say, hello, these are friends, family friends. So he went there. And for sure, he did find my mother there. And he decided, well, this somebody looks like somebody he would like to get to know better. So he would visit there every now and then until eventually, after courting her, they agreed that they would get married. And as fate would have it with hindsight, the Shukombe, when my father was ready to marry, was President Sata's father. He was the one who acted as Shukombe for my father. That's how they got to get married. I know that the stories where they say because my grandparents knew each other, it was arranged, and it was not arranged in such a way. My grandmother was just being clever. Was saying, pass by that house.
Yes, yes. And it was good. He followed the instructions.
Yes,
and went
yes,
there.
yeah.
Okay, so they got married.
They got married and went back to Chinsali, where my mother also was teaching. Yeah, and both of them were teachers at Lubwa. And then my father decided to join the Chinsali branch of the ANC, and I think the bug got him from that time. Yeah.
So after they got married, they settled, and that's how come
They said
his political career was built after he was already married.
He was married, yes.
Okay.
He was married. So when he got married, the first three of the children were born in Chinsali. Panji, Waza, Wezi, they were born in Chinsali. After Wezi was born, they moved to Lusaka, where my father now became a full-time participant in the circles of the ANC. And I remember him telling me a story one time. Says he was really, really gripped when he heard Mwanga Nkumbula speaking, and he says he was just part of the audience in there. And when Harry Nkumbula spoke, he says it really got to him. He stood up and says, "Tell them, Harry, tell them, Harry." And everybody, of course, looked at, who's this guy? But Mr. Nkumbula noticed him.
Yes.
And after that, he called him and said, "Look, who are you? I'm so and so." So, okay, from now on, I want you to be working closely with us. So from that time, that's how he went through the ranks of the ANC with Mr. Nkumbula. So his inspiration was Harimwanga Nkumbula. Yeah.
Would you like to ask something?